I have come to chew bubblegum and build a dual-wielding FPS microgame. And I'm all out of bubblegum. All right, hey, welcome back to the channel. Mr. Wiz here. So for the last several videos, we have been editing our FPS microgame that we have been building in Unity. Today, I'm going to show you how to get crazy with it and do dual-wielding guns. Yes, you heard me right. One of the greatest things about epic FPS type games, especially if you go back to the old games like Duke Nukem, is these massive guns that you just kind of throw around. Maybe they're shotguns, maybe they're machine guns, but dual wielding can make your game really feel epic. So I'm going to show you how to do that today. It is a little bit more advanced than some of the stuff we've done in the past, but hey, if you don't want to do it, don't watch this video. It's up to you. But if you want to dual wield some guns in the FPS micro game, you are in the right place to learn how to do so. So first things first, we are building the FPS micro game that is available in the 2022 version, but it is also available in older versions as well. I have built this in several different versions of the game, but the one I'm using right now is the 2022 version. So here's how this works. First off, if you were not in the last video, if you did not see the last video with me, I did show you guys how to create your own guns. So you'll see here, I have a shotgun that I made in the last video that actually throws daggers. That was a fun little project. I was able to get it to shoot daggers at the wall and at the enemies, and it was pretty fun. So if you want to learn how to make your own custom weapons, I would definitely check that out. The same skills that we used to build this dagger-throwing shotgun, you could easily use to create your own machine gun, for instance, which would be a great addition to a really epic game. So now let's look at dual wielding. Okay, so how does it work? If you go to the hierarchy over here, I want you to find where it says player. Player is right here. I'm going to change the size of my stuff a little bit so you can see a little bit better. So we have the player right there. To the left of the player, we have these little arrows, which you can open up to see all the stuff inside the player. And we're going to make edits to some of this stuff. If it doesn't let you edit, because sometimes it won't, you might need to right-click on the player, go to prefab, and choose to unpack the prefab. So unpacking a prefab basically means that you're allowed to edit the things inside of it. Some prefabs don't let you do that. So if it doesn't let you edit it, go ahead and unpack it. I'm going to go ahead and unpack it now just to be on the safe side. So let's just unpack, and now I can edit the things inside of the player character without the computer yelling at me. Okay, so inside the player character, there are all sorts of different things here. We have the main camera, we have the capsule, we have the aim point, we have the shadow projector, and then we have inside of these some other pieces, right? So the main camera is the main one that I'm concerned about right now, because the main camera is the player's point of view, and it has the weapon camera and the first-person socket, which is tied to stats involving the weapon, basically. So all this stuff has to do with the player's weapon, the weapon camera, and the stats associated with it. So if we're going to do dual wielding, we actually need to duplicate all these and have one set for the right hand and one set for the left hand. So here's how we're going to do that. We're going to right-click on main camera, and we are going to create an empty. So this is just, it's not really a game object because there's nothing in it yet, right? But we're going to call this empty object that we just made right hand. So once again, all I did is I right-clicked on main camera and I went to create empty. And that allowed me to create the object which I renamed as right hand. Now I'm going to take these two objects, the weapon camera and the first-person socket, and I'm going to put them inside of the right hand. So now it looks like this, where we have main camera, then right hand, and then inside of right hand we have weapon camera and first-person socket. You can tell it's inside of it because they're indented. So these indents signify that it's part of the larger. If I close right hand, you won't see those anymore. If I open it, you will. Okay, so we didn't change the stats on any of that. All we did is kind of change the location in the code. So now it is labeled as all part of the right hand game object. So now we're going to make the left hand game object. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on right hand and I'm going to duplicate it. Boom. And I'm going to rename this one left hand. Simple enough. And then inside of it, I've got these things that are copies of the other ones just to make my life a little bit easier. Well, should I rename them? I was going to say we should rename them. But you know what? I'm not going to do that because it's possible that there's code. You know, there's a lot of code in this, a lot of scripts. It's possible some of these scripts might be tied to some of these names. So let's not rename them. We'll just have to be careful when we go to use them later on. Okay, so I've got right hand and I've got left hand. Good, good, good. So if we open up the first person sockets, we can see the different stuff here. We've got the default weapon position. So this is important. The weapon position, where does the weapon load at? So for the right hand, these are the stats. We have X 2.64, Y is 0.347, and Z is 0.465. And that's all absolutely fine. But for the left hand, we don't want the gun being in the same part of the screen, right? In fact, it should be on the left side. So if we're thinking about our X, Y, and Z, which of these signifies left and right? It's going to be X. So for my left hand default position, I'm going to change the X to be on the left side. So instead of using 0.264, I'm going to use negative 0.264. So it should be on the left side of the camera, whereas the right hand will be on the right side of the camera. Make sense? So that should change it because the middle of the camera is really going to be 0. So the right gun will be on the right side. The left gun will be on the left side. Okay, anything else that I need to change in these? Probably not yet. All right, so we've created the position for the left hand, and we're ready to start putting some stuff in it. So now I want you to click on player. And if we scroll down through all these player stats, and there's quite a lot of them, feel free to change some of these, like the player's speed and everything, jump force. There's other things you can change if you want to. But down here we have the weapon manager. This is what makes the guns work. I mentioned this briefly in the last video because I showed you how to change the default weapon. But what we're going to do is we're going to basically make 2 of these. So the weapon manager is what controls the weapons. Now that we have 2 weapons, we're going to need 2 of these weapon managers. So here's how this is going to work. I'm going to click on these 3 dots over here. And I am going to choose to copy the component. So I'm copying the whole weapon manager that already has all the stats. Now I'm going to click those 3 dots again. And I'm going to do paste component as new. That way it doesn't delete the original. Paste component as new. Boom. Now if I look, I should have 2 weapon managers. Where's the second one? I just pasted as new. Where is it? There it is. It's all the way down here. Okay. So there's the first one, and there's the second one down there at the bottom. Can I move this up? Well, let me move it. I'm trying to get it right underneath the other one to make it easier for myself here. There we go. Cool. So now they're next to each other, which will be a little bit easier for me to see. Oh, I still have a jetpack in between them. Come on, jetpack. What are you doing there? You're in my way, sir. Move that jetpack down here. There we go. So both my weapon managers are close together, which you don't have to do that. I prefer it because it's easier for me to code them that way. All right. So the first weapon manager controls the right gun, and we're not going to change much of that. We do want to change one thing. So right here where it has references, and it shows the weapon parent socket, the weapon, default weapon position, aiming weapon, and down weapon position. So all of this stuff is controlling the right gun. The only one we need to worry about is the aiming weapon. So think about what we talked about in the last video. If you're using a weapon and you hold down the right button, you aim down the barrel, right? Which is great. The problem is, if you have 2 weapons, you can't aim down 2 barrels. It doesn't work that way, right? You can't put your eyes behind both guns. So we actually need to change the aiming weapon position. So what we're going to do for player weapon manager, we're going to change the aiming weapon position to the default weapon position. So I'm going to go over here. I'm still on the right gun right now. Still on the first one, which was the right gun. And I'm going to take the default weapon position for the right hand. I said this was a little bit advanced. The advanced part about this is you really have to keep track of what you're doing. So right now I'm working on the right hand. In fact, let me close the left hand stuff just so I don't get confused. I'm working on the right hand right now. So I'm going to take the default weapon position and I'm going to replace where it says aiming weapon position. So there's no longer going to be using that aiming position since you can't aim down the barrel of two guns. Make sense? All right. So that's all the changes we had to make to the first one. Now we're going to go down to the second one, which is going to be for our left hand, and we're going to make several changes here. So just keep our stuff organized. I'm going to close the right hand, and I'm going to open the left hand. So where it says weapon camera, I don't want to use the other weapon camera. I want to use the left-hand weapon camera. So I'm going to drag this, put it there. Boom. I got to do the same thing with the other ones. Weapon parent socket is going to be replaced by this weapon parent socket. So I'm just replacing each of these with the left-hand version. Default weapon position is going to be replaced by this default weapon position. Boop. And then just like we said before, we're not using aiming weapon position anymore. So I'm just going to use default weapon position again. Boop. And then down weapon position is going to be replaced by the new down weapon position. Boop. And I think that will have worked. Let's see. Do I have two shotguns now? I have two shotguns now! Oh, that is so cool. That is so cool. All right. Hail to the king, baby. All right. So let's talk about some problems you will encounter with dual wielding. Weapon pickups don't really work if you build a dual wielding game because weapon pickups are designed to replace the gun that you have. It's not really designed to replace two guns. So the code for it won't really work for dual wielding. So what I would suggest, if you decide to build a dual wielding game, I would get rid of any weapon pickups you have in your game. So in mine right now, I've got, where were they? I saw them earlier. I've got pickup shotgun right here. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete that from my game. And I got another pickup shotgun right there. I'm going to delete. I can leave the pickup healths and the pickup jetpacks. It's just the pickup weapons that I'm not going to be using anymore. So instead of using pickup weapons, it doesn't mean you have to be stuck with one gun the whole time. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here to the weapon manager, and I'm going to add more starting weapons at the very beginning. So where it says starting weapons 1, let's put more. Let's do 3 for this game. And remember, I have 2 weapon managers, so I really want to do this to both of them. There we go. All right. So then I just need to decide what weapons I want to start with. So maybe, and I should probably go to the prefab weapon section down here. So maybe I want to start with the blaster. So I'm going to drag the blaster out as the first weapon on both of them. And then maybe I want to use the regular shotgun for the second weapon on both of them. And then maybe I want to leave the knife thrower for both of them. Or you know what? Maybe I want to mix and match it. Maybe I want to use the knife thrower and one of the other weapons at the same time. So maybe I want to combine it. Maybe I'll do a shotgun and a knife thrower. Let's see if that works. So here's the first setup with 2 pistols. And if I press number 2, I've got my 2 shotguns. And those are, of course, the original ones because I didn't create my own there. And then if I press number 3, haha, I have 1 shotgun and I have the knife throwing gun. So yeah, dual wielding. Not as hard as you would think it would be. Still a little bit complicated, but not as hard as you would think it would be. And you may have noticed the positions. You can always change these if you want to. In my opinion, I feel like the guns might be too close to the center. I feel like since I have 2 guns, maybe I want to space them out a little bit more. So let me go to my left hand and my right hand. I'm going to go to the default position. Let's just move them a little bit farther. So right now they're negative 2.64. How far should I go? What about negative 0.4? Is that too far? Let's try it. So that was left hand and then right hand. I'm going to try 0.4. Let's see if this is too far apart. It might be. Oh, that doesn't look too bad to me. Let's change weapons. Yeah. I actually like that better. I feel like you have a little bit more room. I could even lower them a little bit if I wanted to, because they're pretty high up. But, you know, they're not bad. So yeah, there we go. So I hope you learned something new in this video. If you did, please click the like button to show me that you learned something new. And if you're not already subscribed, please subscribe. And don't forget to tell your friends and family about this. I do believe this will be the last video I make about this particular program. But of course, there will be new videos later on to teach you a lot of the beginner skills and even some new games down the road. Basically, we're going over this course, the same stuff that I teach my class. I'll be covering here on YouTube for you guys. So I hope you join us on this journey. So if you're not subscribed, please subscribe, and I will see you guys later.